Yes, it's got to that stage. You join me in my wardrobe, and I'm here with a bottle of wine. Don't worry, I know that some of us are finding lockdown difficult, but it's not quite that bad here yet. Tonight we're looking at the book of 1 Samuel, and it starts with this stuff, or at least a misunderstanding about this stuff, as Eli, the high priest, encounters a woman who he assumes must be drunk because of the way she's pouring out her heart, making a fool of herself, crying out to God. Well, actually, Eli should have known better because his sons were the ones who were into this stuff, not Hannah, who was quite literally there pouring out her heart, crying out to God for a son. And that's the beginning of 1 Samuel. And it leads to Samuel. The Lord hears Hannah's prayer, opens her womb, and shortly afterwards, well, 9 months afterwards, she gives birth to Samuel. I kind of wonder why Samuel didn't become the king, really. I mean, he'd got all of the attributes that you would require: wisdom, the kind of person that people trusted and could be relied upon. But no, God says to Samuel there in chapter 8 of the book, towards the end, okay, Samuel, you give the people a king. And the person they choose is Saul. And to be quite honest, he looks the part. You couldn't find anyone taller in the whole land, apparently, and he was good looking. I'm always suspicious of guys who are tall and good looking, to be honest. But there we are. They chose Saul. And as his name is heralded, everyone is applauding and clapping and cheering, waiting for the great man to be revealed. But when the time comes, he's kind of hiding in the equivalent of the back of the wardrobe. He's hiding behind some barrels and has to be dragged out. Not a sign of humility, but actually because of his fear. And the whole book of 1 Samuel is, bless him, the story of how Saul just gets it wrong because of his fear, because of his deep seated anxiety, the lack of security in who he is and who God is. It just gets worse and worse. He makes all kinds of mistakes, consults mediums. Just, it's impossible. It's such a difficult story to read at times because you think, oh, goodness, you can't get it. Oh, you have got it wrong again. Well done, Saul. But what's really interesting is it's not just Samuel and Saul in this story of 1 Samuel. No, there's another figure as well. They're creeping round in the background, drawing ever closer to Saul, is kind of like the mirror image of who Saul is, if you like. Where Saul continually gets it wrong, there is this figure in the background who's continually getting it right. And time and again, he draws so close to Saul, they're often within touching distance. This one, David is his name, he ends up playing a musical instrument in front of Saul. Saul goes to use the lute in the cave, and David's in there. You know, David becomes best friends with Saul's son. He marries one of Saul's daughters. It's a brilliant piece of narrative as you've got this kind of hollow, barren king. Remember how the story started in 1 Samuel with barren Hannah. You've got this barren, lifeless, fruitless king, and all the time this other character, David, who's very much part of the narrative, but almost like himself, hiding in the back of the wardrobe, waiting for his time to come. It's a wonderful narrative, 1 Samuel, an exploration of what it means to be a good king, not just to look the part, always be nervous about that, but actually it scratches a bit deeper. Is the calling there? Is the competency there? Is the character there? And that then perhaps becomes a lens for how we view not just Saul, but also the kings that will come afterwards. David, and then his son Solomon, and all of the kings that will come after that. Some of them doing great things, most of them doing awful things. Some of them doing a mix of good things and awful things. But this narrative in 1 Samuel, if you like, sets up the whole story for all of these kings that will come afterwards. God makes it clear to Samuel, give them a king. It's what the people of Israel want, but it's a complex exploration of what is kingship and what do we look for. in our those who rule over us. And surely it goes deeper than appearance. And if it does, well, how deep does it need to go, and what does it involve? 1 Samuel starts off that conversation about what we look for in leaders through this narrative of Saul getting it wrong again and again and again, and this other figure who will have his own time as king in David. So enjoy reading 1 Samuel, this story exploring kingship of poor Saul getting it wrong, and how David's biding his time, waiting for his time, perhaps learning lessons of what it means to be a king, of exploring call and competency and character. There's more to come tomorrow with David in 2 Samuel. Join me then.